Hi there, I'm Mochi of CreateAMochi.com, and today I'm going to share with you a tutorial on how to make this cute faux fur paw pillow. This tutorial is in collaboration with the amazing folks over at BigZFabric.com. They've kindly provided us with a yard of their Ecoshag fur as well as a yard of their half shag fur. Both furs are of excellent quality and are very soft. So let's get started. So just about all the tools and materials you'll need to make your paw pillow can be shown here. You're going to need a yard of their Ecoshag fur, a yard of their half shag fur, your paw pillow patterns for both the main body as well as the pads, some stuffing, an X-Acto blade for cutting the furs, some marking tools such as Sharpies and chalk, some pins, some upholstery thread and a curved needle, some combs, a yardstick, and most importantly, but not pictured here, is a sewing machine that can handle heavy-duty fabrics. So the first step in making your paw pillow is to cut out your sides and main body part of your pillow. You're going to need your yard of longer pile fur, your yardstick, your main body pillow pattern, some weights for the pattern, your marking tools, and your razor blade. So the next step in making your paw pillow is to trace and cut out the inside pads. You're going to need your shorter pile fur, your pattern for the pads, your X-Acto blade, your marking tool, as well as the face of the pillow where you also need to make the cutouts for the pads to be sewn to. So the next step in making our paw pillow is that we're going to take the two sides, make sure the fur fibers are pointing downward, and then we're going to pin them together at the top. Make sure your fur fibers are tucked in and not sticking out of the edge. To make this a little easier, I like to start pinning at the corners. And then I'll just pin it in the center. So once you've got that nice and pinned, just set it aside. We'll sew it together later. So the next part is we're going to want to pin in the big part of the pad right here to the face. So grab it, tuck it into the fur, align it nicely. Make sure all your little fibers from the half shag are tucked down into the Ecoshag. We don't want any fur fibers sticking out the back side. We want them all to be in the front. So when everything looks good, you just start pinning. I recommend pinning at key points such as the top and the bottom, the sides, maybe the dips here, these corners, and then start filling it in. So the next step in making your paw pillow is to take the two sides that you pin together and sew them together, like so. And cut your thread tails. And once those are sewn, put them aside. And now we want to sew the pad to the main part of the pillow, like so. I always start at the bottom where it's flat and then circle around to end there. So now that we have removed the pins, take the paw pillow and turn it over, and you can see your work. It's helpful to have a brush on hand to brush out the seams, make sure all the little fibers are untucked. Everything looks nice and clean and it's very soft. So then flip it back over, and we're going to pin and sew in the pads. Now the order that I recommend doing this is do one of the middle ones first, do all the pinning, then sew it, take the pins out, do all the pinning, then sew it, take the pins out, and then do all the pinning on the two outsides and sew them. Reason being is that if you try to do all four at once, it gets a little crazy with pins everywhere when you're trying to move this under the machine. So let's begin. So when pinning these pads, I usually do it in like a point system like the previous one, where I start at the top and then I do the bottom like so, and then I will do the sides, then after doing the four corners, so to speak, you can do these other corners, these inside corners. And then once you've got all the corner parts sewn, you can just start filling in the other parts with your pins. So there we go. Once we have all the pad pinned in, we're going to take it over to the sewing machine. So now that you have your pads sewn to the face of your pillow, the next step is to take your side piece and pin it around the outside edge. What you want to do is find the center that you sewed together and align that center seam to the point between the top two center pads. Once you've got that aligned, tuck your fur in and pin it together. I always pin on each side of the seam first to hold it into place, followed by a couple other pins on each side, like this. So your pillow should look like this once it's all pinned. You want to go from the top center all the way around to the bottom. Your two ends should line up perfectly. Once you've got it all pinned, let's take it to the sewing machine. So the next step is we want to sew these pieces together. I always start at the bottom center where the two ends line up, like so, and let's line it up under our machine. And I'm going to continue to sew the whole edge all the way around. So now that we've got this sewn all the way around, we want to take the pins out towards the bottom and do the bottom part. So we've got our two strips here in the bottom that we want to pin together and sew together. I'll do that real quick and then show you how to do the back side. So now that we have our sides sewn to the front of our pillow, like this, and the little bottom seam of the two strips, what we want to do is flip the pillow over and get our back side piece, which is all long and fluffy and solid, and we're going to pin this to the sides. So same thing, grab your top seam and align it with the top center of the back part of the pillow. And from there, you're going to want to pin it all the way around the outside edge to the bottom, but the most important thing is on the bottom you want to leave a gap maybe 5 to 6 inches wide for stuffing the pillow with. Let me pin that now and I'll show you how it'll look when it's done. So now I have the back side of the pillow pinned to the sides all the way around, and I have an opening at the bottom roughly 5 inches wide but big enough to get my hand in for stuffing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to sew this entire seam around the outside, starting at this end, go all the way around and end right here. After that, I'll show you how to stuff the pillow. So now that you have your paw pillow all sewn together, let's stuff it. Stick your hand in, grab the top center, and turn it right side out. Make sure to push all of those seams out, so then that you end up with a nice flat paw shape. Take your stuffing and just start stuffing it in through the opening at the bottom. So now we're in the final step of finishing our paw pillow. You're going to want to close this gap with a ladder stitch. Start by taking the stuffing and pushing it a little further in and away from the edges to give you some room. I've already threaded my curved needle here with some heavy-duty upholstery thread, and now I'm just going to get started. I usually start on the right side because I'm right-handed, and I just stick my curved needle in, make sure the fur fibers are pushed away so you can see where you're sewing, and you want to get to that edge. Whoops, almost dropped it. There we go. So push those fibers away, go in, pull the needle through, and pull. And then just keep going for the entirety of the seam. And keep closing that gap. So I'm just going to continue to sew this and tie it off, and I will show you what the finished seam looks like when I'm done. So now I've got my seam all sewn up, but you can see some of the fur fibers are trapped in there. So what you're going to want to do is take either a pick comb or a safari comb and just comb out those fibers. And then once you've got everything nice and combed out and it looks good and fluffy and practically seamless, turn up your paw pillow, look at the rest of it, maybe comb out your side seams, comb the face seams, get any seams you might have missed, and then fluff it up, and you've got a nice, cute, fluffy, comfy paw pillow. Thank you for watching, and a huge thank you to Big Z Fabric in providing this high quality faux fur to make this adorable paw pillow. We hope you liked this video. Please be sure to leave us a like and a comment down below, and please be sure to subscribe to both Big Z Fabric and Creative Mochi, and hit that notification bell to be notified of future videos uploaded to these channels, as we will be making more tutorials just like this one for you. I'm Mochi at CreativeMochi.com, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!